but
Good to see you, Gay.
good to see you too, Chris.
I know.
Looking forward to, do you all typically, are you all going to start doing these meetings in person, do you think, or? Well, I tell you what, let's get through a CDC reversal. So maybe that question was premature.
What we've talked about is having them in person once a quarter and have the others virtual.
That's a good idea.
We do get better participation virtual. Nice. Because we usually have them at this time, which is a challenge sometimes with everyone heading home. And if you know where the Salmon Center sits, and it goes right out into Oak Lawn.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, probably like the rest of the world, we're probably hybrid here and there. Hi, Jaynie.
Sorry, I'm muted. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I heard Gay, you are more than welcome to go before me.
We'll touch
What's
base
that?
next week. Can I have Meredith schedule usually at 3 p.m. with you on Tuesdays and or Thursdays, or both are good for you?
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, but feel free to unmute yourself if you would like to speak.
Row 2. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Because Gay has to catch a plane. So Gay has to catch a plane. So we plan to take you in district order, but we want to accommodate her plane schedule. So welcome everyone, first of all. I want to quickly say that we do have another virtual, well, we don't know if it's going to be virtual or in person yet, but we do have a meeting next month, August 26th. That is the last Wednesday of the month. And we don't have a brown bag scheduled yet. So those are the only updates I have for the organization. And now I want to thank our council members for joining us. We really appreciate it. We are just thrilled that you're our new representatives on the council, and really glad you could join us today. So I am going to turn it over to Gay and let her tell us a little bit about her thoughts on the arts, priorities for her district, and anything else she wants to share with us. So Gay, I'm going to turn it over to you. And you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. So let me start in a rather, I'm going to get reverb here. I don't know if that's me, but, and that is that I grew up in Fort Worth. So I was born in Dallas, but raised in Fort Worth. So I have had the arts just interspersed with my life since the time I was a child, and really haven't known anything else. So the thought of people not having that same kind of experience just makes me want to be sure that there's a way that we can change that. So I grew up going to Casa Manana. I remember when the Kimball Art Museum was constructed. I did not love going to the opera, but by golly, I went to lots of opera performances because that's the way my school, All Saints Episcopal, operated, but also because of the wealth of opportunities that were presented by the arts community. Obviously, there were some very strong benefactors who made that possible. So I guess I would say I don't necessarily have to have some of that demonstrated to me because it's been so much part of my life. It's something I still enjoy. It's something that I've brought my own children up to experience, whether it's musicals or an art museum. Actually, I've been told that I have museumed them out for a little while, and so they need a little moratorium. So now when we go to a different city, I go to the museums, but I know they'll come back and appreciate those experiences. So I appreciate what the arts do for just the spirit and the body and the mind. And I also understand the business implications of the arts, not only because of the number of jobs created by our arts community, by performance, et cetera, but also because it is a quality that when it comes to economic development, many are looking for. They're looking for their employees to have a good, sound quality of life, and the arts play such a vital role in that. When you look at District 13 specifically, I would love to continue something that I was doing in my former day job, which was president and CEO of the Turtle Creek Conservancy that had beautiful Lee Park, now Turtle Creek Park, and Arlington Hall. And that was, I believe, arts and parks go together, because parks are beautiful, welcoming spaces that people just kind of are accustomed to going and, having leisure time, or maybe playing a sport or pushing a kid on the swing set. But I think that there's a real opportunity to take what people love about parks and bring the arts to that, so that you're having an even more rich experience. And so that's something I would love to bring to our District 13 parks. And then also one thing that I'd love to see, and I think I saw that Jennifer Scripps was on the call. I thought I saw her face on here, but I believe early on in her tenure, she was considering the role that libraries and the arts could play together, and that so many of our libraries have maybe a black box theater, or at least some other way to, again, bring arts to the people in an environment that is welcoming, that they feel comfortable in, because they've probably been going to the library for so many years. In D13, we're very fortunate to have finally gotten a brand new library in Vickery Meadow, the Vickery Park Library. And it's a beautiful space full of light. And it's certainly in a community that would tremendously benefit from cultural experiences, not only that might be brought to them, but to give the cultures that exist in that community, maybe give them a place to introduce some of us to what they know. So that is, in a nutshell, how I view the arts. But I value so many of you that I'm seeing on this call, that the role that you play in keeping this alive in our community. And now that we're able to come back together, hopefully soon, and feeling safer about it, I think that's part of the experience too, is being able to be with others and share about what you're observing and what your thoughts or your perspective might be. So I just think it enriches the community. And I'm a true believer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think we have time for, if anyone has one or two questions for Councilmember Willis before she has to leave us. We could entertain a couple questions. We do ask for you to put those in the chat if you can. But if you can't, then just, kind of raise your hand so that we can call on you.
I haven't seen Andrew in a long time, so hello, Andrew.
I have a question for you, and I'm on my phone, so I'm not typing. But where, you mentioned over in Vickery, where else in your district do you think that the arts could kind of play a role in enhancing or transforming a part of your community?
Well, I mentioned, Vickery Park. So that's on Park Lane, just east of Greenville. But there are other parks. There's one that I think could really lend itself to performance, and that's Royal Park. That has a very interesting structure, and it is west of Marsh, between Marsh and Webb Chapel. So I think that's another place that I'd love to see, partnering with the Friends of the North Haven Trail, who have chosen that park for movie nights, to just sort of infuse a little more. I mean, we don't have to, have a performance every single month, but I think, offering something once or twice a year, or thinking about how a space like that could be used, would just kind of wake the neighbors up to something coming to them versus them having to necessarily go elsewhere. So I would definitely be open to that. I know that, I'd love to know more about our schools and their performances. I feel like I always learn after the fact about, a student production of something that I might have liked to have seen. And so, I think that's another thing that I would love to play a role, if I'm aware of it, that I could push out through the district newsletter.
Other questions for Councilmember Willis?
We will all make sure you
I-
know about our education programs.
Very good. Okay. I can tell I've missed something.
I have a quick one, and it's, I don't think there's a lot of public art in District 13, and I wonder if that's another need that, maybe we should be looking at for the district.
Yeah, I know that there was an exciting project through the bond, actually. So I think that's good to think about in terms of our new firehouses, the projects where public art are a part of that, and that the first responders actually get to collaborate with an artist on what that will be to help reflect the character of their particular ladder. And so I think that is interesting. That honestly is an area I haven't really had time to delve into. So it could be that there are some opportunities for that. And perhaps since the North Haven Trail definitely goes through many of our districts, or other trails do, that as an opportunity, because there's some very large easements. I don't know all the rules and regs around that, but that is something that comes to mind as well.
Let us know if there's any way we can help with some of those things. Last call. If anyone else has a question, you better sing out now.
Yeah.
Hey, Joanna, this is Chris Lona. It's not a question, and I'll make this one comment to all 4 of the council members. Thank you for your service. Coming from someone who has been there, I know the work and the time and the energy that it takes. So thank you for your service, and for each of you, look forward to a great 8 years of working together.
Chris, thank you for your guidance and support along the way. We won't let you get too far away from us.
I was remiss. I should have done a better introduction of Councilmember Willis. Before her service on the council, she served on the TIF board and the bond committee. So she comes to us with a lot of experience with the city already. She served on other boards and committees, outside nonprofits, the junior league, etc. And her committee assignments right now are economic development, government performance and financial management, public safety, transportation and infrastructure, judicial nominations, and legislative affairs. So you really do have a very full plate.
As
So
do my
thank you.
colleagues.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your time today. I'll jump off, but very good to see you all.
Thank you so much. So, okay, unless anyone else, any of the other council members have a plan to catch, we'll go back to our going in district order. So that would bring us to Councilmember Jesse Moreno, our representative from District 2, which happens to be the district where Salmon Center is located. And so let me give you a brief introduction. Councilmember Moreno is a businessman, restaurant owner, and has had also a lot of experience with City of Dallas. He was on the park board, which we know is a big job. And his committee assignments are housing and homeless solutions. He's the vice chair there, public safety, transportation and infrastructure, workforce, education and equity, the COVID recovery committee, and did I miss any?
I think you got it.
That was all your committee assignments. Okay. So thank you so much for serving. We're very excited to have you in District 2. And so I'm going to let you tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on the arts and your priorities for the district.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joanna. And it's so nice to see so many of our friends on this call. I really believe Dallas has a lot of rich history throughout our neighborhoods, and I believe that art can play a role to help identify and express those communities that are rich in culture and history. My background on the park board allows me to bring that public art that we brought into so many of our district parks. As a father of a 3-year-old, we understand the value that art plays through the education system. So I want to make sure that we are partnering with our DISDs, with our my background with nonprofits and after-school programs, bringing arts to everyone, because they really truly play a valuable role in the upbringings of our young families. Something that I really want to be able to be an asset is when it comes to COVID recovery. Again, as a small business owner, I understand the struggles that a lot of our artists and organizations have gone through. The organizations that arts brings are a economic engine to not only District 2, but the entire city of Dallas. I want to make sure that we're providing those tools and resources to make you all successful. I really appreciate the diversity that has been implemented more so in the past few years with y'all's priorities. The last show I was able to attend was over at the Lucha Libre show, and that was just such an incredible show that really brought cultural out, and I just appreciate you all for doing that. We talked a little bit about public art. I want to continue seeing public art in our parks, but I want to see that art being functional art, where it's not just a great art piece where someone can go and appreciate an artwork, but something that maybe it's a bench that someone can sit on. It's a climbing wall for young families, and continuing to. There's one park in particular, Exposition Park, right near Fair Park, that has a great little amphitheater, but it's severely underutilized, and we need to do a better job of using that space, especially with its proximity to Deep Ellum and Fair Park, and so that's I think a big opportunity that we can work together to leverage that park. What else? Space. We all know that the arts has grown here in Dallas, which has been a successful, and it's been great, but we know that places like Salmon Centers and other places have unfortunately run out of space. And so we need more black box theaters. I'm excited about the Latino Cultural Center expansion. And so we need more space for our artists and those organizations that play host. So that's an area that I'm willing to dive into, and making sure that we have those services. One of the great arts in District 2, I believe, is the Shakespeare Theater at Samuel Grand Park. Hopefully we have a master plan in place there, and a master plan actually for the entire park. And that's going to be one of my priorities to really make that a true destination for the entire city of Dallas. And I just look forward to continuing to working with you all, and I'll take any questions if y'all have any.
Please, anyone who has a question, type it in the chat or click out.
Joanna, this is Jesse.
Hi, Jesse, go ahead.
And I'm a bad typist, I'm sorry. But also, like Chris Luna was saying, more of a comment than I'm trying to get my camera to work, more a comment than a question. But a lot of the success that got me a theater company, I'm on the board of got me a theater company, a lot of successes that we had was, and especially when you haven't had any type of Hispanic event, you've got to have food. So every time we do a play or a production, especially opening night, we've got to have food. We people would, if they came into an empty theater lobby without food, they would probably walk away. And because we focus more on the production and the food was a last minute, and the food cost was the very last minute, we always go to Jesse and to his business and, hey, Jesse, what can you do? Hey, I've got a group of people coming. Can you donate something? Can we buy something at a discount rate and all that? And he was always there ready to where I'm talking where we have a production at 7:30 on Friday, opening night. And I'm at his place of business at 5 o'clock asking for donations, not a week in advance, not, anything like that. Well, yeah, I can do this, Jesse, or I can do that. And having a great relationship with his dad was even a lot better because I said, well, where did this come from? Oh, Mr. Moreno said, put this in the package and took care of it. So, a lot of success from Academia was, because of Jesse, able to meet our need, able to let me come in at the very last minute. What can you do? And he'd be fantastic. It was, I always thank you for that. That's always been a great thing to do. You've done that for Academia, but you've done that with other organizations that I'm a partner with. When my mother remarried, we had the reception at this place of business because we know everybody knew that place and we could get something really great, almost at no cost to us. To have a good time. So he's always there, and he's been there to many other art organizations. So thank you, Jesse. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse. For those comments. And Chris Heinbaugh had a couple of questions he wanted to pose questions to any of you.
Hey, Jesse. My council member, thank you. And I would pose this also to Paul and to Jaynie, all three of you. What can we do to help you be successful?
Hey, Chris, communication, right? Just having that open dialogue of what's going on. Leveraging resources. For example, we're working within a school and DISD, and they have a band or a theater play, and giving them the opportunity to perform at one of these world-class facilities, because that really truly inspires kids to want to go to that next level. And so I would just say the biggest thing for me is communication, and you've done a great job on that, Chris, is letting us know what shows are coming into town, and just how we can, it's a dialogue that it's two-way communication. And so I'm just going to highlight communication moving.
Thank you. And to you, Jaynie and Paul and Gay, though she's gone, do want to say thank you very much for your service, but also for taking time on the front end when you all were running for office, and to spend the time with us to listen to what we kind of felt the issues were, and to hear from you, your engagement and how important the arts were to you. And that was just incredibly impressive, I think, to all of us, that you guys took the time out of your busy campaign schedule to do that. So thank you to all of you.
Do we have other questions for Councilmember Moreno? Okay, I don't see any. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate hearing your thoughts. And we will definitely stay in communication and let you know about all of our events and educational programs, and just make sure we keep you informed. So thank you for being with us. And now I want to move on to Councilwoman Jaynie Schultz, District 13, and I'll give you a brief introduction. Jaynie is a businesswoman, many years of experience in the business community, as well as serving on many, many boards and committees over the years. Before she became a councilwoman, she was on the Dallas City Plan Commission, Urban Design Committee. She has served as president of the City Lab, along with many other boards and commissions. And then her committee assignments with the City Council are environment and sustainability, housing and homeless solutions, transportation and infrastructure. She is the chair of Workforce Education and Equity, and she also serves on the Ethics Committee. So that is a lot to keep up with. So thank you for being willing to take that all on, and thank you for being willing to serve as a council person. And so I'd like to turn it over to you to share your ideas and your priorities for the district. And then I think to Chris's question, what can we do to help you?
Sure. Well, thank you. Thank you all. And to those I know, hello. And to those I have not yet met, I look forward to it. I'm not going to be redundant in terms of what Jesse and Gay said, because I completely agree in terms of the importance of the arts. I see it as the soul of our city, huge impetus for jobs, and especially with this new committee assignment on workforce. I mean, I really want to find ways that we can work together on workforce, education, and equity. All of those things resonate throughout the entire arts community and culture community. So I want to work with you on that. So let me just jump into District 11. And what I'd really like to do, with your permission, Joanna, is kind of open it up to you all. I'll give you a little bit about my district and where you can be helpful. And then I'd love to schedule a time, maybe even with the entire group at another time, or whatever works for you all, to actually brainstorm on ways that you can be involved, because you're the experts in this. You are the creative ones. And my job will be simply to implement your great ideas that I'd love for you to share with me about things that you can do. So there are a couple of areas in particular in District 11 where I could use your help. One is that you all may have heard, I hope you have. If you haven't, please make sure that you get to know the Goldmark Cultural Center, which I consider to be a real gem in District 11. It's the home of 110 artists. They have studios there. They're constantly having shows. There's actually going to be a big sidewalk sale on August 7th. So I encourage you to get on their mailing list if you're not. So Goldmark, we can talk about also how the more mainstream and in place-based arts venues here in Dallas could actually participate with another venue in another part of Dallas. That would be great, as well as seeding new artists and things like that. But the big one that I want to talk to you about is the International District, formerly known as Valley Galleria, formerly known as Midtown. So this is the area that's bounded by Preston Road and the Tollway and Alpha, basically, and 635, a 450-acre property that's known as Valley View Mall. People have been calling it Midtown for a long time. It's actually in the process of being rebranded as the International District. It's going to be a place where communities, particularly those who haven't had as much recognition by our city, the Pan-Asian, African cultures, who have built their lives here over the last 50 years. And we're really going to be targeting all of the international community to infuse their cultures into this project. And it's pretty much a blank slate. So where I could use your help and ideas in it is, we have the park that we're purchasing. In fact, the first parcel has been purchased, and it's going to be an international cultural center, not necessarily for display, but also as part of the park. It's going to be a very activated space that'll have offices for some of these communities from around the world, as well as, you know, a district office, things like that. But it's got great space for displays, for shows. It's got fantastic space outdoors that we can use as we acquire adjacent parcels for the park. We have to deal with our branding. We have to deal with our signs, with our streetscape, and most important of all, there's going to be the first DISD pre-K to 12 vertical International STEAM Academy. So note the A in STEAM. So there's going to be a huge number of opportunities for you all to get involved with this school and that overall district. So those are the two real unique places to District 11. And of course, I want to join any conversation that you have about parks writ large, or trails, or streetscapes, or how do we get more people to do what I did and paint their garage doors, things like that. I want to just bring more arts and culture, because I really do believe it's the soul of our city. So that's all I'll say. I'd love to spend whatever time I have left hearing from you all.
Well,
Can I go to the one where I can see everybody instead of just one? Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you, Jaynie. That's all really exciting. And I think we're all thrilled to hear about those really exciting developments in your district. So who has questions for Councilwoman Schultz? Or has ideas?
Yeah, ideas.
Councilwoman, this is Jesse Hornbuckle.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, sir. I'm fine.
I have more of a comment than a question. Just wanted you to know that your commissioner is on it. I've met with Krista Weinstein, and we have been talking about your district, and is anything I could do to be helpful, I plan to do that. So just letting you know that the work is being done.
Well, you know what, Jesse, actually, at some point, I'd love to have a bigger conversation about the role of photography
Yes, ma'am.
in everything in all of this and how we can use it so we don't miss opportunities in time to capture things that we ought to be capturing.
Well, I would be really excited about that. I bet you I
Okay.
can help you with that.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
I mean, imagine if you guys took on the International District as a project.
Jill Magnuson in the chat says, can we help you with the Cultural Advisory Council on the International District?
Yes, I would love that. I mean, maybe you all might be there's some of you who might be interested in really being an ongoing part of our strategic planning so that it's infused from the beginning instead of an add-on later. I mean, I would love for you to help us develop the soul because, you know, I can't say that enough, so I won't say it again.
Who else has a question or a comment? Nancy Israel says she'd be happy to help since she lives in District 11.
Can you, is it possible for you all later to capture some of these, you know, comments so that I can, because I'm focused with you all right now. So if somebody later could maybe send me a list of the folks who said they wanted to get involved, that would be tremendous.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Who else has a question or a comment or an idea for Councilwoman Schultz?
I do have one other thing that I wrote down that I forgot because I got so excited about this. And that is that the North Haven Trail Bridge going over 75, I know it's been designed and it's actually a little bit, it's under construction now, but imagine again, if we sort of infused some art into that from the beginning, whether it's on the bridge itself, you know, as it's painted or along the side or whatever, that would be fantastic.
It could be like a gateway.
And beautifully said.
Does anyone else have a comment? Joella Phillip says, place me on the list. So we will be happy to do that.
Great. And, you know, and again, anytime that you all are interested in just brainstorming, you know, I'm happy to meet with you anytime to do that.
I actually have a question about the International District, and that is there sort of a time frame for the development and when we might see it completed, or at least to the point where there could be programming and activities?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. You didn't even know you were my ideal shill. Please put on your calendars September 19th from 1 to 4 at the Prism Center, which is the building I mentioned at, I think it's on Peterson Lane. You'll be hearing a lot more, but put that on your calendar. We're going to be doing a program called Popsicles in Progress, which is an opportunity to show all the progress that's already been made in the district, as well as all the vision boards of the developers, because we have so many developers. That's the biggest challenge. It's not just one owner like a lot of projects are, like Redbird or some of the others. Because there's so many, we're going to have all the developers and the schools sharing their vision boards of what they're planning to build, as well as our goals for the park and different ways that people can be involved in. If you haven't been there, it's an opportunity to really see. It's shocking how much progress actually already has been made over there. So that'll be the opportunity. Thank you for asking.
get us information on that, we'll make sure to get that out to all the DACAC members in our newsletters.
Great. And the same thing goes, if you will put me on your mailing lists, I would be more than happy to promote all of your programs or efforts and things like that in my newsletter as well, and on social media, things like that.
And Charles Santos says he would be happy to participate, and Ramona Logan also says she'd like to learn more about the Goldmark Cultural Center and join the brainstorming meeting.
Great.
So
thank you.
Got the
Thank
beginnings
you.
of a good committee here.
Yay, thank you.
You can't count me in, especially if it's visual arts related.
Okay, any last questions for Councilwoman Schultz? All right, well, thank you so much. That was really exciting to hear all that, and we so appreciate your willingness to serve this community, and very excited to be working with you in the future.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Sure. So moving on, and last but definitely not least, the man who has all of the huge arts facilities and some not so huge arts facilities in his district. Councilmember Paul Ridley is with us from District 14. And he has an amazing background. He was an architect, an urban planner who became an attorney. And I always say architects are artists who can do math. So, so he has great experience to bring to his role on the council, and particularly given the number of arts groups that are in his district. Before he became a council member, he was on the Dallas Plan Commission and the Landmark Commission, and his committee assignments are environment and sustainability, government performance and financial management, housing and homeless solutions, quality of life, which that was very important to all of us, the COVID recovery committee, and judicial nominees. So again, a very busy first year on the council. So welcome, Councilmember Ridley, and we would love to hear more from you about your ideas about the arts community, arts and culture in general, and priorities for your community and how we can help you.
Well, thank you, Joanna. It is a real pleasure to be here with you today and the other members of DACAC. I have a real long-term interest in the arts. I became very interested in the visual arts back in college, studied art history, and when I first came to Dallas as a young attorney practicing law, I was looking for a way to get involved in the community, and at the same time, because of my interest in the arts, I gravitated to the DMA, and I took their 2-year course to become a docent, and finished that, and conducted tours of the museum's collections for a number of years. And so I've always had an interest in the arts, and I understand the importance of them to the community on several levels. First of all, the most obvious is that it is a source of revenue to the city and to the entire community by cultural tourism. And I think that's a valuable way to look at the arts from a strictly dollars and cents viewpoint, because it justifies expenditure of public dollars to promote the arts and our arts institutions. In addition, the arts have great value to the community because they can create transformative experiences. You know, we all can get into our ruts of going to work every day and dealing with everyday issues. We can be lifted up in our spirits and our attitude by cultural experiences, such as engaging in arts performances and arts experiences. And so that may be an intangible quality, but I think it's a very important one to realize and to recognize its importance to the community. And the third is its role in education. I think it's the arts present educational opportunities at all age levels, particularly at the formative years in school, secondary and primary school levels for our children. And that's something that I think the schools have been accustomed to taking advantage of through field trips to the museums and to different performance venues. And I'd like to see those continue because I think that's an important way of raising the next generation to appreciate the importance of the arts to our community. In terms of my priorities, well, as Joanna has obviously mentioned, I am blessed with the presence of the Arts District in my City Council district. And it is truly a gem. It's a world-class asset. And it's something that I want to preserve and maintain so that it can be available for generations to come. But of course, one of the side effects of having such a concentration of first-class arts organizations in one geographic area is that it tends to draw attention away from the rest of the district and the rest of the city. And so I want to guard against becoming too focused on one piece of geography to the detriment of the rest of the district. And my idea there is that we could, and this is something you can help me with, is to improve the dispersion of the arts throughout our my district and our city. And what I have in mind there is, first of all, that our existing premier arts organizations redouble their efforts to look at opportunities to reach out to diverse communities, to particularly those that may not be able, excuse me, to financially afford some performances, to provide complimentary tickets to people who would be interested in those kinds of experiences, but may not be financially able to take advantage of them. Another way is to make available facilities such as the Moody Performance Hall for smaller arts groups, particularly the performing arts, because that is such a wonderful facility. We have a lot of smaller arts groups, not only in my district, but other districts who could benefit from the usage of that facility. And so that's certainly an important issue for me and one that I'd like to see magnified. Another approach is to increase the dispersion of public art in the district. Now, if you look at the Arts District itself, we have wonderful world-class buildings and architecture. We don't have much public art, though. I'd like to see more sculpture in the wonderful open spaces that we have in the Arts District. And I'd like to see it dispersed beyond the Arts District to our trail system. For example, I went to an opening this summer of a mural that was painted on an overpass on the Santa Fe Trail. And it was painted by a Hungarian artist, and it was wonderfully colorful and vibrant. And it can really enrich the everyday experience of people using that trail. And so that's an example of how I'd like to see art outside of the Arts District and not just confined to the Arts District. So those are some thoughts that I have, and I would welcome your ideas about ways to disperse art to our entire community and make it more available to people in all walks of life.
Well, thank you. Those are all wonderful aspirations, and it's music to our ears, of course. And we would all like to see the arts just vibrant and available in every single district. So I know that's something we all want to work with you on. Does anyone have a comment? Chris Luna says, as you can tell, the Arts District is in good hands with Councilman Ridley. So I think we all agree with that. Does anyone have a particular question or idea?
Jeff has his hands up, so if he'd like to unmute.
Yeah, the phone's ringing in the background, but I'll try to ask the question here. First of all, Paul, Jeff Rain, the artistic producer for Uptown Players, and we're the only professional LGBTQ focused theater in the city, and are happy to be in your district as the primary tenant of the Kalita Humphreys Theater, which is not necessarily part of the Arts District itself, but is sort of an offshoot of it, and sort of, I think, the largest venue outside of the Arts District in your district. So I'm curious what your thoughts are about that facility and how you sort of view its future with, with balancing the Arts District venues as well, like you talked about.
Well, I appreciate your question, Jeff. I have a pretty good knowledge of the Cleta Humphreys Theater, having been a season ticket holder at the Theater Center before they moved to the Wiley, and loved going to that facility. As an architect, I really appreciate the architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright. I'm a student of his architecture, although he had some quirks when it came to designing theater spaces, as reflected in that building. I'm anxious to see the master plan concluded and completed so that we can chart the course into the future for that building. I have scheduled a tour of the building and a review of the progress of the master plan in the coming days. And I look forward to that opportunity, because that is a great opportunity, as you have suggested, to disperse arts into the community, particularly into the LGBTQ community. And it's such a wonderful location there along the Katy Trail and along Turtle Creek. It's one that has to be respected. And it's been a shame that it hasn't been available for more use in the last few years, I think largely because of deferred maintenance. So I'm very pleased that your group is making use of that building. I'd like to see money invested in improvements and to make that a more usable space. And that's perhaps a discussion that you and I could have at some point down the road as to what your needs are in the usage of that space. So I think that's an important arts asset, and I'd like to see us make maximum use of it.
Great, thank you. I'd love to set up some time with you whenever, either following the tour or at some point when you've got time on your calendar. So that's great.
Okay.
Alexandra also has, you posted a question in chat, but if you'd like to unmute, you can also speak it as well.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm the artistic director at Anita Martinez Banda Folklorico. We're a resident company at ATT PAC. So I'm really excited about you talking about bringing more field trips into the Dallas Arts District. We have been performing at the Moody, at the Winspear, and we'll be in the Ned Strauss in October. And one of the barriers that we've come across is making sure that our patrons, which are largely Latino, can afford to pay for parking. We're very close-knit family culture, so that means that when people come to the show, they don't just bring their parents, they bring their parents, their cousins, their grandmothers. And as you know, as far as parking, that gets really, really expensive, and you're not even calculating in ticket pricing. And then with our smaller Dallas DISD district schools, a lot of the times they can't afford buses to come to our performances. And for our field trips, just to give you an idea, we charge $5 per student and $2 per teacher. So we do try to keep our prices pretty low so that they're affordable. But do you have any suggestions or programming that we could implement to kind of build a bridge for more people, especially our audience members, who, like I said, are predominantly Latino, to kind of be able to make it to shows out in the Dallas Arts District?
Well, I'd like to see if we could make arrangements for alternative low-cost parking in the Arts District, perhaps at the Arts Magnet School for performances that are off hours in the evening and on weekends, and use some of their parking. There are many other parking lots in the downtown area that could be made available, again, in the off hours when they're not being used by office workers, that we ought to be able to find a way to reduce the cost of parking when otherwise those lots would be idle. And so that's something that I think could be explored, particularly with the clout of DECAC to approach the private parking lot owners on the perimeter to perhaps comp or reduce parking costs for people that attend, for example, students or people on low incomes who are attending these performances and would, without that opportunity, be unable to attend. So I think that's just a logistical issue, but it sounds like a serious one from your perspective that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to kind of, I guess, like send you an email or also kind of talk about, our programming. We found that it's been really helpful to get a discount as a resident company in the producing aspect. And our experiences have been really great. It's just for us, it's like, okay, how do we share that experience with our audience?
Well, I would enjoy an opportunity to hear from you, Alexandra. My City Hall email address is paul.ridley@dallascityhall.com.
All right, thank you. I'll shoot you an email.
Great.
We have a comment from Gail Halpern, Brucewood Dance, that even for Brucewood Dance, parking is an issue. And I think anyone would agree with that. Particularly for the Moody, it's an issue. So I think that's something, maybe there's some work that could be done along with master planning and other, other visions for the area with the Arts District groups there. Does anyone else have a question or a comment or an idea for Councilmember Ridley?
Nancy echoed the same sentiments about affordable parking and increase. Affordable dining options would also be great. As a Booker T parent, she spends a lot of time in the Dallas Arts District where reasonable options are sparse.
And Hannah, can you put Councilmember Ridley's email in the chat? Great, thank you. Anyone else have a comment or a question or an idea for Councilmember Ridley?
One thing I would just throw in a little bit along the parking, because I do know we have a lot of people who park across the street at lots over there. And I think one of the issues is it is a challenge for people to cross the street safely there at night. And I think that might be something that could be looked at, because people who do cross over there, there's, other than down at, I forget the street on the other side of the Moody, there's not a light between Ross and Pearl and down there. And so people are just dashing across, trying to dodge cars. So we might think about maybe some crossings there that might make it more safe to use those lots that are across the street, because there is a lot of parking that's generally affordable over there, but nobody wants to dash across if you're in heels or whatever. So I would just kind of maybe mention that too. It might be something to explore.
That's a good idea, Chris. That's definitely something we could look at as perhaps a flashing light with a crosswalk there that's individually activated.
I know I've seen in some places these crosswalks that have little lights up on each side of the crosswalk, as well as flashing lights, and they can be activated by the pedestrian. And it just calls in a lot more attention to the fact that pedestrians are crossing there. And I think it's a required stop in Texas. And that could also be helpful in other places. The Majestic is another one. There's a parking garage right across the street. Mm-hmm. And that would be another place where a nice flashing lit crosswalk would work. And I'm sure there's other places as well. Mm. So I know you're not on the transportation committee, but excuse me, maybe they could look at that. Any other questions for Councilmember Ridley?
Is there anything we can do to help you, Paul, in terms of, whatever within your district? you've got these great assets in the arts district, but are there other parts of the district that you are maybe focused on that you think could use some cultural attention, so to speak, or engagement?
Well, as I mentioned, under the notion of dispersion of the arts, to look for opportunities for locations for three-dimensional art, for visual sculptural art. I think we can do much to beautify our city and get people interested in the arts if we reach out into the community for those kinds of opportunities. One of my favorite theater venues is Theater 3 in the Quadrangle. And that's an area that is undergoing a huge redevelopment plan that will be breaking ground very soon. Fortunately, with the preservation of Theater 3 as one of the important venues in that entertainment and office district. And so that might be an opportunity for additional public art in the open space that surrounds the theater and the other buildings there. Sometimes putting art in the most unexpected places can be the most effective because it's an experience that you weren't expecting. That's something that I'm going to be looking at opportunities for throughout the district. And I would be very open to anyone else suggesting ideas for painting murals, as simple as painting a mural on some public infrastructure and smoothing the way to get permission to do that, to putting up sculpture in places of public assembly. So those are some ideas that you could help me with.
Well, Brian, I was the other night over at a new restaurant over on Haskell Lola, and Brian Toney was there, and he's got an idea for a park that's just a few blocks away from that, that might use some public art. He was talking about it, and we were thinking that you might be helpful in getting that done.
Okay, well, I'd be glad to take a look at that. I don't know what your committee structure is, but if you don't have one, you might consider forming a public art committee that could look at such opportunities.
That sounds good. And yeah, thank you. It's a great idea.
Well, we're almost out of time. And so I want to note that Tino put in the chat that we have budget town hall meetings coming up soon in August. So we want to remind everybody that we'll need to attend those. And I believe most of those will probably be virtual again, but we'll get that schedule out as soon as we have it. We need everyone to show up as usual and bring your ideas and your questions and your priorities. I want to thank our council members for joining us. Councilmember Moreno, Councilwoman Schultz, Councilmember Ridley, and Councilwoman Willis for joining us today. And we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules. And we thank you for your willingness to take on these hard tasks and these huge challenges that we face right now. And we really look forward to working with you on the arts and culture issues and education issues and any other issues where you think we can be helpful.
Well, thank you, Joanna.
And thank you all for joining us. And we will have this, we have recorded this, we will put it up on the website for anyone that wasn't able to see it, or if anyone wants to go back and review any of the comments. So thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.